everyone, welcome back to the Analyst of Vajiram and Ravi dated 20th of May, in which we'll be covering good details on the current affair articles derived from the Hindu and Indian Express. What are these articles? Let's have a look. In the first one, we will read and learn what are green credits, as recently about 12 odd projects have been ratified by the government in lieu of this green credits program. In the next one, we will read about the case study of two major cereal producing states, which is Punjab and Haryana. What are their observables and how are they very instrumental in providing food security of the country. Next, we'll read about the elephant census, which by the way is getting conducted after 7 years. So we'll read about this keystone species, their conservation efforts, and also about the census. Then we will read about a very controversial law upcoming from the UK government, where they are trying to revise the graduate route visa scheme. So we'll read what impact will it have on the Indian students as well. Next, we will read about an important protected area from Rajasthan, which is the Sariska Tiger Reserve. As recently in Supreme Court ruling, they have said that about 50 odd illegal mining projects will be shut down immediately. And finally, we will conclude with some very important prelim snippets, extremely crucial for the upcoming prelims examination. To learn more details, stay tuned. So I invite you to learn the first topic, which is about the green credits, and it has been in news. Why? Because Centre recently, as I've already told you, has approved about 12 greening projects under this newly green credit program. So first of all, what are green credits? So have you already heard about the carbon credits? So what are carbon credits? These are offset market-based mechanisms. So if anyone is making any effort, any company, individual organization is making any effort to lessen down the carbon emissions, they will be incentivized by some tradable certificates. These are known as carbon credits. But is it not just working only in the space of carbon dioxide emissions only, greenhouse gas emissions only? It is definitely not multi-sectoral. And right now the concern is not just about greenhouse gas, not just about the global warming, but about the overall ecosystem degradation that is happening. And in lieu of this, our Prime Minister in the year 2021, in lines of the COP26, brought up this approach, which is the LIFE approach, lifestyle for the environment approach. This is the umbrella scheme under which a lot of components of ecosystem were included. And one such component was creation of green credit. So this is again a market-based mechanism, just like the carbon credit, but it's incentivizing somebody not just for reduction of carbon dioxide emission, but rather for doing efforts for other aspects of environment. For example, it includes 8 core areas: tree plantation, that is afforestation, water conservation, then sustainable agriculture, waste management, air pollution, mangrove conservation and restoration. This is an important one. Then creating eco-mark standards, then building sustainable buildings and infrastructure. These 8 components are all in all included in the LIFE approach. And within this, they will be implemented, of course, in a phased fashion. So in the first phase, the focus of government is on producing green credits for tree plantation and for water conservation. Alright, so I hope the idea of green credit is clear to you. So let's say if you are planting now, in contrast to carbon credit mechanisms, which was available only for the organizations or the institutions or the companies, this one is available not just for the companies and the institutions, but also for the individuals. And therefore, it invites for more participative approach of the people, and therefore it also broadens the scope of stakeholder in conserving our environment. Alright, now green credit is going to be a singular unit of incentive provided for a specific activity taken in the domain of environmental conservation across the sectors of environment and delivering the positive impact on the environment. And this credit will only be given once this impact is assessed. So therefore, the credit is availed not immediately but after post-assessment. How is that operationalized? We'll look into the next slide. But anyway, the good thing about here is that it not only invites the farmer producer organization, industries, rural, local urban bodies, but also some of the individuals also who will be performing environmental affirmative actions. So I hope this idea is clear to you. Please remember, this is going to be implemented in a phased fashion. And right now, what are the features of it? We'll assess that. So first of all, please understand that carbon credit and green credits will work independently of each other. The carbon credits are backed by the Energy Conservation Act of 2001, whereas the green credits are just a scheme right now. They don't have a statutory backing as such right now, but I think they will be affiliated to the same act as well. But right now they both work independent to each other. Please remember this. So which means that a person can get both the carbon credits and green credits together. Okay, they will work independently. Now, who will be governing the green credits and who will be giving it to you? So first of all, as I have told you, phased implementation is taking place, and the first phase includes afforestation and water conservation efforts. So here, the administrating authority is Indian Council for Forestry Research and Education. They will demark some of the lands as degraded lands. They will demark land as degraded lands, and this demarcation will come from the suggestions of state government. So basically, it is a state forest departments which are going to classify lands as degraded lands depending upon or suitable to each state government. And then when they do this, this will be analyzed by the Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, which are responsible for issuing this certificate. Then they will oversee the financial contributions, how much should be given to which parcel of the land and to how much effort of afforestation. Then all of this will be executed. The governance and administration, though it will be overlooked by the ICFRE, but it will be executed by the respective state forest department. As I've already told you, who will be demarcating these degraded lands? It's the state forest department. Now, before providing, let's say a person has grown a lot of trees, let's say 100 trees have been grown. Will they be immediately getting the green credits out of it? No. Assessment of 2 years will be done, so that we'll finally be able to see how many trees have actually survived and are they contributing positively to the environment or not. So after the 2 years assessment, let's say only 76 trees are left, or only 76 trees are found to be productive, then equivalent 76 green credits will be given. Right? So this assessment will be made, and who will make this assessment? Again, the Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education. Now, when I'm getting the green credit, can I trade it in the market? Not exactly. I cannot trade it in the market, but they can be used in the following mechanism. So do you remember CAMPA, Compensatory Afforestation Act? So the compensatory afforestation, in lieu of that, we can also utilize the green credits over here, just like how we used to get it during the CAMPA efforts. Next is, whenever somebody offsets the diversion of forest, they will be having certain liabilities associated with it. So in order to compensate those liabilities, they can purchase these green credits from the government. Right? Next is, it will also cause one of the adherences to, or it will provide for the adherences mechanism from environmental, social and governance standards and corporate social responsibility, which is mandatory for all the corporations to be performed. And therefore, they can, by creating these green credits, can also fulfill their CSR responsibilities and their ESG responsibility. So I hope it is clear to you where it will be used, who will be issuing it, how is it assessed and how is it given. Now, this is not the only approach. I've already told you about the LIFE approach, which includes about 8 sectors. So what are the other investments made by the Indian government in its green trajectory to facilitate the green growth? Well, recently, the Union Budget of 2023 has announced a lot of initiatives. All of them becomes very important for the examination, not for just prelims, but also for mains. So please remember, first one is the Green Credit Program. This is basically to incentivize the environmental affirmative actions or the sustainable actions across different fields. We are clear on that. Next is PM Pranam. PM Pranam is to incentivize to promote alternative fertilizers. We have already covered the menace created by fertilizers in the previous analyst, right? So in order to deal with that, in order to create more eco-friendly fertilizers so that they do not create imbalance in the chemical and nutritional composition of the Indian soil, we have initiated PM Pranam scheme. Next is waste to wealth plants will be created via Gobardhan scheme. This is not a new scheme, it came in 2018, but via Gobardhan scheme, the government intends to create biogas from the organic waste or biomass. So this is the intention and this is also included. Next is the Mishti. Mishti is very important for this year prelims. Mishti is to be taken up for mangrove plantation along the coastline. So as I've already told you, one of the sectors includes mangrove conservation and restoration, right? So we have Mishti scheme. Then we have Amrit Dharohar. What is Amrit Dharohar for? This is for optimal utilization of the wetlands. So Amrit Dharohar is for wetlands. So we have seen different initiatives launched by government in light of this LIFE initiative. Now, let's evaluate this green credit program. Of course, whenever a policy comes, we as aspiring civil servants, we should know how to critically analyze it. First of all, there are immense significances, and significances is basically something which is aligning with India's environmental commitment and policies. We already have Wildlife Protection Act, Environment Protection Act, Air Act, Water Act, Wetland Conservation Act, and all of them will be augmented and they will become more economically incentivizing for especially the industries and the corporate bodies once we also support them with the green credit program. Next is, it broadens the scope of the tradable credits, because as of now the only operational tradable credits are the carbon credits, but it is not available if I'm conserving the water, if I'm safeguarding the mangroves, if I'm growing more forest. So in order to get incentivized on those aspects, I will be getting more amount of scope via these green credits. Next is, this is not just a decade for global warming, because gone past are those times where we were only concerned about few sectors. Now we have a more landscape and ecosystem oriented approach. In fact, the decade of 2021 to 2030 is all about ecosystem restoration around different facets. You will only be able to safeguard the ecosystem if you are taking something like a life approach, or if you are taking something like incentivizing on every sector via green credits. Okay, so this is in line of all these. It's in tune of our international climate commitments which we made during the COP26, which we made during COP28, then our NDCs, then our Panchamrit principles, then our environmental existing policies, the vision government has for environmental conservation, and the decade, and the commitment of United Nations member overall. So it is in line of all of that, but there are certain challenges as well. See, the first challenge is in the definition. How do you really demarcate what is a degraded land? Now, if a land, let's say, is only growing grasses in it or only growing shrubland, doesn't amount to become a degraded land. But if it's in the hand of state government, if state government would want to commercialize the lands, they will demarcate such shrublands and grazing lands, and open forest is also degraded lands, and this will lead to large-scale colonization by the plantations or by such corporate agencies. So first of all, it could be detrimental to the forest ecology. Why? Because of the lack of standardization of the definition of what amounts exactly to degraded land. Next is, this might lead to creation of green desert. Now you will ask, ma'am, what is green desert? So let's say we are here in a very water intensive area. Let's say we are in the water basin of Narmada. Okay, and over here there is lot of water, lot of groundwater is there because of the Narmada river, and here I start growing the eucalyptus trees, because anyway I am getting green credits, and green credits are given on the basis of quantity of the tree and not the quality of the tree. But are the eucalyptus trees suitable for this basin? No, because eucalyptus will basically suck up the entire groundwater, and this has actually happened, and therefore the Madhya Pradesh government caused the evacuation of all these eucalyptus plantation and replace them from more native and indigenous trees which are more usufruct. The point is to grow the endemic trees, but the problem with endemic trees, like for example jamun tree, mango tree, etc., jackfruit tree, is that they take a lot of time to grow. If it's taking a lot of time to grow, then definitely my availing of the green credit will also be delayed. So out of profit maximization, I might end up growing a lot of invasive species. It might happen that it can compromise with the overall biodiversity, the quality of the environment, the quality of the ecosystem of that place. So am I not creating green deserts? So that is very much of a likelihood. Next is, it can put pressure on the wastelands. The wastelands or the degraded lands might not have been depleted in their quality, but still, because it is rendered wasteland by the government, by the state forest departments, they might come into the hands of private agencies which will start growing something which can be detrimental for the biodiversity, and this will eventually further degrade the quality of the wasteland. So these are some of the concerns. So how do you take care of it? First of all is to set up a standard SOP across the state forest department as to which part and parcel of the land can be demarcated as a degraded land and which one should not be demarcated. Second is to look into the quality aspect of the trees, quality aspect of the afforestation basically. This is very important because end of the day we want to have sustainable afforestation, and in order to create a sustainable afforestation, what is the need of that? Grow the trees which are good for the biodiversity, good for the ecosystem, good for the environment, specifically of the regional area. Alright, so this is the evaluation of the Green Credit Program. The next topic brings us to a case study of the two bread and cereal baskets of India, which is Haryana and Punjab. So what is the context? That recently we know that the last year was a very havocing El Nino year. So whenever El Nino happens, is it good for India or is it bad for India? Well, I'll be teaching you in the upcoming slide. But definitely it's not good for the agriculturalist, right? Because the yields go down, the productivity go down. So therefore, the agricultural output has declined in the last year drastically. But it has been, the food security of the country has been safeguarded by these two states, which is Punjab and Haryana, and this coverage has been made in the explained section of Indian Express. Now, it deals with various segments of the syllabus. First of all, we'll deal with food security issue, which also amounts to social issues, which is there in the GS2 part of the syllabus. Next is the government policies and intervention, because of course government would have taken some of the measures to safeguard food security. Then food security itself is explicitly mentioned in GS3. And because we'll be reading about the El Nino, so it also amounts to reading about the GS1 part of the syllabus, where we have to read about the geophysical phenomena. Now, first of all, let's understand what are the observables that have been showcased in this explained section. First of all, they have named, and very rightly so, these two states of Punjab and Haryana, the prominent green revolution belts of the country, as the two bread basket state, because we are going to assess two cereal production. One is the wheat and second is the rice. When it comes to wheat, it produces 75.5% of these two combined shared 75% of the overall production of the wheat in the country. Next, their share in the public distribution scheme is such that the total amount of grains, cereals that are procured by the government, in that it has got 90% of share, and it used to has the share till 2000s. But then after the diversification, after the huge cry about the rainbow revolution, the other states also started planting different things. In fact, some of the acreage area of this Punjab and Haryana, they also started growing things like oil seeds, pulses, millets, etc. So therefore, because of the diversification, the share got less, but it is still well above 50%. So the overall share, the government procures the best or more than 50% of the total cereals, that is the rice and the wheat, were from the combined states of Haryana and Punjab. Next, what are the reasons for such reliability and this overarching performance? Because even if you analyze this table, these two tables talking about the wheat procurement of the country and the rice procurement, you will be able to see that these two states combined have been top performers in the last 5 years. And that is an immense growth. But then what contributes to the success? In fact, in a weather epidemic, for example, the El Nino, when it happened, that time also it safeguarded country's food security because the productions were still maintained as compared to the previous years. As you can see, the production is still maintained in these two states. The reason for this, first of all, is assured irrigation. These two states have got inherent irrigation and electricity policies. In fact, the electricity subsidies are such that they, in a vast scale, supports the assured irrigation over there. Second is their location. Since they are located in the northern parts, therefore they have more cold climate as compared to the southern and the central belts of India. So when the El Nino came, it came with a drought-like condition, it came with more warm condition in the Indian subcontinent, but it did not affect this northern region that much. So therefore, it was still inducive. It has got more climate resilience, and it was still more inducive for cultivation of wheat, which is a Rabi crop grown in winter season, and also for Kharif, which is rice. Now, some long-term considerations that were put forward in this explained section is They have been administering yield superiority over the national average for the last 5 years. So definitely we cannot afford to make policies which are detrimental or are causing tectonic shift to the food security of these two states or the production pattern of these two states, because they are very important for the food security of the nation. Which also makes me come to the second point of their strategic importance. So even if when we were having the pandemic, when we were having the El Nino year of the worst kinds, even after that, we were not compromised by the food security. We were not dealing with a lot of cereal inflation. The reason for this was the production levels safeguarded by Punjab and Haryana. Coming to the food security part, now I will tell you how is food security made a legal right for the people of India. So then first of all, what do we understand by food security? Is it the mere availability and accessibility of the food? No, that would be a partial definition. Food security means provisions which ensures that all the people at all times have access to at least basic food so that they can carry out an active and healthy lifestyle. That is the proper definition of food security. Now previously, food security was considered as a welfare measure by the government. So if the government wants to provide, they will provide. But now, with this particular act launched in July 5th, 2013, it gave the very legal right to the citizens of India to avail the food, especially the basic food. So they were made very, very affordable, especially for the marginalized sections of the society, which I'm going to tell you. And it not only did that, but it also ensured that if at all in some condition person is not able to avail the food, then they will be getting the food security allowances. So which means it has been duly made a legal right. Well, is this a constitutional right? It is not explicitly mentioned, but the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution calls out that every person has a right to live with dignity, and therefore the food security, right to life, also encompasses food security to a large extent, but as of now it is a legal right. Now, the entitlement was such that about 75% of the total people should be from rural areas and 50% from the urban areas. It also calls for other features like women empowerment, because whenever somebody has to be issued the ration card, it will be done family wise. The head of the family will be considered as not the male counterpart, but the eldest woman should be above 18 years of age. So it also avails for women empowerment, a statement asked by UPSC in prelims exam. Next is, how will they cause and who will cause identification of these beneficiaries? Identification largely has to be caused on the basis of two data samples that we have. First data is Household Consumption Expenditure Survey of NSSO, and second is Socio-Economic Caste Census data. Either of them can be chosen. So either it can be the Consumption Expenditure Survey or the Socio-Economic Caste Census, either of them. Now, who are going to designate and identify these beneficiaries on the basis of this data? Who? Not the central government, but respective state governments will be identifying it. Then who will be the beneficiaries? Beneficiaries are chunked out in the form of eligible households, which are further classified into two categories. First is priority households and second is Antyodaya Anna Yojana households, which is I households. So priority households are entitled to 5 kgs of food grains, not per family, but per person. So please remember this distinction. Whereas on the other hand, the I or the Antyodaya households are entitled to getting 35 kgs of food entitlement per month. So this is on a monthly basis, on a family basis. And this one is again on monthly basis, but on a personal basis. The rates of the food grains will be same for both of them. And if you talk about the subsidized prices, heavy subsidization has been done. And this is 3 rupees per kg for rice, 2 for wheat and 1 for millets or coarse grains. Now, of course, this is such a drastic change in our welfare approach and providing food security. It must be having some significant outcomes. Significant outcomes includes how we improved our nutritional status of the overall country. The undernourishment of the country, that was because of malnutrition, poor diet, etc. That was taken care of by this National Food Security Act because it has got a lifestyle-based approach. It not only caters with the adolescents, but also women, the lactating mothers, the pregnant mothers. It also deals with the elderlies. It also causes women empowerment, who are generally sidelined when it comes to consuming the right food. And then it also takes care of the children, in fact the infants as well, from 6 months onward. So it has got a lifestyle based approach, and therefore it was overall able to improve the nourishment or the nutritional quality of the country. So basically this has reduced from 22% to 15% in the last decade. This is according to FAO's State of Food Security and Nutritional Report. So please remember, who produces State of Food Security Report? This is Food and Agriculture Organization. Can you tell me where is the headquarter of it? And can you also tell me who publishes this report? Status of Forest Report, Status of World Forest Report. So try to answer this, try to recall it, or try to search it. You can do either, but just learn about it. Next is percentage of stunted children. Stunted children which are too low for their age, their height is too low for their age. They have also reduced significantly, because India bears one of the highest burdens of the stunted and the wasted children. That has reduced from 38% to 35%. So though we have a long way to go, but still we have come so far, right? So these are the outcomes. I mean, good positive returns from National Food Security Act. But at the same time, there are many concerns regarding to implementation of food security concerns in India. Because according to the Global Hunger Index, we still rank 111th out of how many countries? 125 countries, which tells us that we have a long way to go in improving our food security, because it's just not about providing cereals, but it's also about providing proper micronutrients, vitamins, proteins specifically, which is very less in Indian diet. Next topic that we are going to read is the El Nino phenomena, because this has caused concern. And by the way, you should remember that the El Nino phenomena is about to end in the mid of 2024. So you wouldn't be seeing El Nino anymore. But the last year it caused a lot of production damage in terms of crops. So El Nino is nothing but an abnormal change in the sea surface temperature in the equatorial Pacific region. What happens during normal condition? Let's say this is the Peruvian coast or the South American coast, and this is the Australian coast. Basically, this is the East Pacific and this is the West Pacific. Generally or typically what happens, because of the drifting of the warm equatorial currents towards the Western Pacific side by the trade winds. So trade winds and the equatorial current carry the warm current towards the western side. So generally you see that here you see in the Australian coast you see low pressure, and in the eastern coast we see the high pressure. But because of some abnormalities, these trade winds which are driving the hot currents westward, they become weakened. They also further weaken the Walker circulation, and as a result of this, the warm current which were to be drifted towards the west side, they start accumulating towards the eastern side, that is towards the Peruvian coast. And it was observed for the first time by the Peruvian fishermen, and they named it as El Nino, which also in Spanish is known as the child. So basically it used to generally happen around the time of Christmas. So they said that this is child or a boy, basically birth of Jesus. So this is known as El Nino event. El Nino is the abnormal warming of the Eastern Pacific equatorial current. So over here we get, because here the warming has happened, we will get low pressure, therefore we will get lot of rainfalls, and this will hurt the economy, which is mostly dependent on marine sector. Why? Because the upwelling will not take place. Upwelling used to bring the fishes and the nutrition which fed the marine economy over there. So the economy of this particular area, the Peruvian coast, will be compromised, and not just the Peruvian coast. In fact, in the Australian coast, it will also cause disruption, because here it will create high pressure, and high pressure will subside the monsoon, and Indian economy is nothing but a gamble of monsoon. So if we don't get the monsoon, we don't get the harvest, and that is why it was a cause of concern, especially in the last year where El Nino peaked. What is the average peaking? So when the average rise in the temperature is about 0.5 degrees centigrade above the normal, then it is considered as an average El Nino year. But the last year it got risen up to 4 degrees centigrade than the normal. This is the sea surface temperature that I am talking about. Okay, so this is El Nino, and if reversal happens of this, if this area becomes way too cooler as compared to the normal conditions, then it will become La Nina. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear to you. So now we will do an analysis of the United Kingdom's Graduate Route Visa Scheme, or the GRV scheme, which was responsible for giving permits to international students to study in United Kingdoms. Now this is a news because adhering to, complicating the migrant policy and taking a harsher stance on it, Rishi Sunak government has again made another provision to reduce the number of international students coming to the UK by making the provisions to get this visa more stricter, and this only will be allowed to the best and the brightest of students, as said by the government. So this is dealing with GS2 part of the syllabus, where any international policy or politics, we have to assess what impact is it going to have on Indian policy. So for that, first of all, let's understand the context of this scheme, the Graduate Route Visa Scheme. This was launched in the year 2001, and ever since 2001, because of this scheme, United Kingdom attracted millions of international students. Now, this is a visa scheme for the international students who are willing to pursue higher education or the undergrad education in United Kingdom. So, in here, what is the provision and why was it chosen by a lot of international students as the best point of study? Is because the government allowed that even after completing your undergrad course, or let's say your PhD course or higher grad course, you will be allowed to stay here in UK for the next 2 years without even having any job offer. So you can search out jobs in our economy and we will be retaining you for the next 2 years, which becomes a very good opportunity for the international students to explore employment over there. So therefore, many students were resorting to this. Now, what is the eligibility? The eligibility, please understand, what are the incentives that any person who has completed or looking for work as an undergrad, or as a person who has qualified some other higher education, can live here for 2 years, and the flexibility is given up to 3 years for PhD holders. Okay, this is the incentive that is provided by the scheme. What is the eligibility? Eligibility, you must have a degree of undergrad level or above at a higher education provider. Provider should be based in UK only. And second is, you should be having an active pass. This pass is known as Tier 4 pass. Tier 4 valid pass or student visa should be with the person at the time of application. So when you will give these two things, we will be providing you the GRV visa. Now, of course, it caused a lot of influx, and you must be knowing that UK already is going through very stricter regimes for the migration influx. The last time we saw it in the form of Rwanda policy, where UK will be assessing a lot of migrants and then they will be deporting them to the African country of Rwanda. And similar to that, now again, to lessen up the migration, UK is implementing this one, which can have more gruesome impact. Let's have an assessment. First of all, it is going to have impact on the number of international students which are seeking to study in the UK, and they do have the correct merit. But the competition will go very ruthless, and some of the bright students, even if they are very bright in the country, might not be rendered bright in UK. A lot of subjectivity will be involved, and therefore they might not be able to get the right opportunity. Next is, the prospects of average student will be hindered. Now, who is considered as an average is again very objective. The government over here is discouraging the enrollment of average student, which is not the right approach to human development. Then UK itself will be harmed. UK economy will be harmed because according to one of the migration assessment committee of UK, they have said that it can make it less attractive destination because of a lot of crisis or a lot of education universities of UK which were ailing because of financial losses. They were recovered from this scheme because a lot of students came and enrolled over there. So the universities, their finances will be facing the brunt. Next, financial losses to the universities, I've already told you, and impact on the Indian students. Now, do you know that about 50% of the total GRV holders are Indian students? In fact, since 2021, we saw a 9-fold increase in the total number of international Indian students availing for this visa scheme. So definitely, it will have an impact on the Indian students. A lot of them will be rendered unemployed when they have been educated in that university, and as a result of this, can you see that it can also cause larger impacts on India and UK relationship. So these are some of the implications which we need to be mindful of. And coming to the next topic about elephant census. So we all hear about tiger census, which happens in every 5 years, but what about the elephant census? We see huge irregularities. The last one was conducted in 2017 and now getting conducted in 2024. So fortunately, government has announced for a synchronized elephant population census that will be held across the states of South India for 3 days from May 23. This is very important from GST point of view and from prelims point of view. So first, let's learn about the elephants, which are very dear to us. These are the keystone species which are primarily found in India. In fact, they are the national heritage animal of India. Now, elephants can be broadly divided into two species, one who belong to Asia. There are again subspecies of Asian elephants, and then there are African elephants. African elephants are more bigger, gigantic in size as compared to Asian elephants. When you talk about the total population of Asian elephants, India hosts about 60% of the total population, therefore hosts the maximum number of elephants and therefore calls for having a better conservation of the elephants as well. Now, if you broadly divide the subspecies, the Asian elephants can be divided into Indian elephant, Borneo, which is the smallest species of all the elephant there, and Sri Lankan elephant and Sumatran elephant, highly endangered. Next is the African species. African species, as you can see, have got more wrinkled body, larger bodies, larger tusks, and so they are again divided into two parts. One is the bush elephant, second is the forest elephant. The African forest elephant is critically endangered in nature, whereas the African savanna or the bush elephant are endangered in nature, equivalent to that of Asian. Now please remember, which country hosts the largest population of elephant in the world irrespective of the classification of species? This country is Botswana. And this was also in news very recently. So please remember this fact. Now, because of the conservation efforts, Indian government has created elephant reserves, just like how we have tiger reserves because of Project Tiger launched in 1973. So we have elephant reserves which were launched by the Project Elephant in 1992, which was a centrally sponsored scheme. How many elephant reserves do we have? We have about 33 elephant reserves. The first elephant reserve to be demarcated was the Singhbum Elephant Reserve of Jharkhand. So Singhbum of Jharkhand is the first and in fact the largest elephant reserve as well. I am telling you this information because the largest tiger reserve was ours. So if we talk on the same lines, you should also know which is the first and which is the largest. Fortunately for us, both of them are the same, which is the Singhbum Elephant Reserve. Now, mostly they are located in the southern states, in Uttar Pradesh, in Uttarakhand. They are not in Himachal Pradesh, and they are located in the Chota Nagpur Plateau and in the northeastern states. So please remember them. The last time when the census was conducted, the highest population of elephants were hosted by the state of Karnataka, followed by the state of Assam, and then followed by Kerala. So you must also know the results of this elephant reserves. They will be important for exam. Now, talking about the conservation efforts of the elephants, it can be broadly divided into national ones and the international ones. Now, these are the migratory species. They were heavily smuggled for their body parts, for their skin, for their tusk, for the ivory. So therefore, Indian government started taking conservation efforts from 1992 dedicated only for elephants from the Project Elephant. This also called for creating elephant census that should be conducted in every 5 years. Then it also called for creating elephant reserves and corridors. Now, these are not just conservational ones, but they also are very helpful in avoiding the man-animal conflict, which is very prominent in cases of elephants. So, about 33 reserves and 30 corridors have been created. Next is, of course, engaging the community so that they can perform elephant management and conservation. So, some of the engagement programs are the Gaj Yatra program and the Gaj Shilpi initiative, both of them to increase the awareness of the people regarding the conservation of elephants. Next is giving the awards to people who are doing exemplary performances or who are performing exemplary efforts in conservation and management of elephant. So these are some of the national efforts which you can use in your mains answer writing. What are the international ones? As I have told you, it's a highly migratory species. So both of the species, African and Asian, were included in the Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 respectively of the Convention of Migratory Species signed in the year 1979. This is also known as what? Bonn Convention. Also, they also got enlisted into the CITES, which is Convention for International Trade in Endangered Species, because they are highly smuggled for their body parts, as I've already told you. So in order to prohibit the trade and regulate it, so especially of the wild fauna and flora, CITES was created. CITES was created in the year 1973. This is the same year when we came up with Project Tiger, and it also included Asian and African elephants in Appendix 1. What about the IUCN? IUCN has included it in endangered list. Okay, then a very important one, this CITES convention, one of the COP of CITES convention that held a resolution 10.10 adopted in 1997. They initiated a dedicated conservation program for elephants, and this was the MIKE program, monitoring of illegal killing of elephants program. Is India a signatory to it? Yes, but not in 1997. India adopted the MIKE standards in 2003, and India has got only 10 MIKE sites, even if we have got 33 elephant reserves, but only 10 MIKE sites are there. So I hope we have understood about our elephant. Now, we will do the PYQ practice. So this question came in 2020 and we'll try to solve it for you. First is, the leader of elephant group is a female. So this is a fact, and in fact a well-known fact. The oldest and the female member of the group is the leader of the group. Second, the maximum gestation period can be 22 months, which is highest for any mammal. So this is true. Elephant can normally go on calving till the age of 40 years only. Now this statement is actually very funny, because the calving or the reproductive age is not very clear cut for any organism, even be it for humans, be it for animals. So we cannot say that till the age of 40 years only. So this statement is incorrect. So when I mark it incorrect, I'll be getting A and B. And among the states in India, the highest elephant population is in Kerala. So the last census we read, 2017, largest state is Karnataka. So again, this is a fact which is incorrect. So correct answer is 1 and 2. Now can we move to the Sariska Tiger Reserve? Yes. We'll be studying about the illegal mining cases, because recently Supreme Court has ordered the Rajasthan government to shut down the operating mines in the critical tiger habitat area of the Sariska Tiger Reserve. And you may wonder that why exactly were they doing mining activities over there? Because of a confusion that I'll be telling you. So first of all, let's read about Sariska Tiger Reserve, because this is more important from UPSC point of view. Where are they located? They are located in the eastern part, in the eastern Alwar district of Rajasthan. So in the Alwar district, we get the Sariska Tiger Reserve, which is actually lying in the Aravalli Hills. Talking about the Aravalli Hills, a very important fact, Aravalli Hills flows from Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana to Delhi. So there are 4 states. It does not include Madhya Pradesh, so please be mindful of it. It includes these 4 states. Next, it obviously became a wildlife sanctuary because it hosted a lot of species naturally. The Royal Bengal tiger, the cheetal, the nilgai, sambar, leopards, etc. Most of the diurnal basically. So therefore, it was designated as wildlife sanctuary in 1955, very initially. Then Tiger Reserve status was accorded to it in 1978. Now, can you also tell me which was the first Tiger Reserve to be accorded the Tiger Reserve, or which was the first national park to be accorded Tiger Reserve status? So let me know about it. Now, this is also famous for hosting a lot of temples and forts because it was historically prominent place. So it hosts the Kankarwadi Fort. Now, Kankarwadi or Kankarwadi Fort, this is famous because this is where the hostile Aurangzeb, he captured and imprisoned his elder brother Dara Shikoh in this fort only, which is located inside the area of Sariska Tiger Reserve. And talking about, because it is a tiger reserve, because it hosts wide population of Royal Bengal tiger, but this is not the only tiger reserve. Rajasthan has got as of now 5 tiger reserves, the recent one being the Dholpul Karoli one, and then Ramgarh Vishdhari Tiger Reserve, then Mukundra Tiger Hills, then Sariska Tiger Reserve and Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. Very important, it is in Savai Madhopur. Locations are very important. Please remember, tiger reserves are much more important as compared to national parks. So if you want to learn anything for prelims, at least learn the places of tiger reserves. Now, we have already talked about the tiger reserve. Now let me bring you to the case of conflict. So what happened in 2022? Supreme Court ruled out that At all the national parks and the wildlife sanctuaries, about one, let's say this is the core area of a national park, about 1 kilometer from here, you should not be able, this will be demarcated as eco-sensitive zone, so you should not carry out any commercial activity, let alone mining. Any commercial activity cannot be performed. So of course it attracted a lot of backlash because it could hamper the development. So therefore the Supreme Court again modified this order in 2023, and it basically left it to the behest of state government and the central government to decide whether it should be 1 kilometer or less or more. So it can be changed or it can be shifted by central and state government. It was on their discretion. But do you know how did the Rajasthan Forest Department perceived it? They said that this eco-sensitive zone guideline is only for the national park and the wildlife sanctuary, know where their tiger reserve is located. So obviously, taking the best of their common sense, they said that we can create mining operations near the tiger reserve, which was of course causing degradation of the total number of tigers, especially in the Sariska tiger reserve. So therefore, recently Supreme Court made a backlash on the Rajasthan Forest Department and said that tiger reserve is on a higher pedestal of conservation as compared to wildlife sanctuary and national park. So if we are demarcating eco-sensitive zones for sanctuaries and for national park, it is obvious that it's there for tiger reserve as well. So do you have to keep an eco-sensitive zone around tiger reserve? Yes. So the answer would be yes, and this is about the confusion that was created. Now let's move on to the Prelims Snippets. We'll be reading about a very important scheme also asked in UPSC, the PM LAD scheme. Then we'll read about Pyramids of Egypt, a very interesting thing. Next we'll read about foreign portfolio investors and lion-tailed macaw. So first of all, what is MP LAD scheme? So MP LAD scheme goes for the Member of Parliament Local Area Development Program. Now this was launched in 1993. It was launched in 1993, and this is not a centrally sponsored but a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme, and it says that some amount of money will be given or it will be issued, and it will become a right for the MPs to use it for creating durable physical infrastructure in the place of their constituency. So basically the idea is to create physical infrastructure that is of durable nature. So they can be created, they can be pioneered by any MP via this fund that is under the central sector scheme, and this is managed by very important Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which you must remember. Okay, now as you can simply see from the infographic, the school building has been created by the MP LAD fund of Sachin Tendulkar, right? So such durable infrastructure has to be created. Now how does it typically work? Is it like government is paying 5 crore rupees to the account of the MP? No. What happens is the ministry assigned for it, which has formulated the policy, they release 5 crore annually in installments, in 2 installments of 2.5 crore to the district authority, that is to the district magistrate. Okay, not on the account of MP. Now, the member of MP can come with a recommendation of a work based on the local needs of the constituency. Also remember, when it comes to the Lok Sabha MP, they can only use the funds in creation of something in their own constituency only. When it comes to Rajya Sabha member, they can create it anywhere in the state. And when it comes to, let's say, a nominated member of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they can create it anywhere in the country. Okay, so when they will come with their respective authority and with their respective recommendation to the district authority who's holding the fund, they will sanction the eligible work, select the implementing agency, and they will take care of the implementation. At least they have to, implement at least 10% of the review has to be made by the work of this infrastructure by the district authority only. Okay, and of course it also has got provision of filing RTI to check the status of the works and the fund. This makes me take you through the next question. So this is a question asked by UPSC. So can you try to answer this? Just try to answer this on the basis of common sense and also on the basis of knowledge which we have got so far. Okay, next is the Pyramids of Egypt. Why it is in news? Very interestingly, a journal, the Communications, Earth and Environment, have solved a mystery, as to how and why this gigantic, one of the tallest structures and most historic structures have been let down in Egypt. So how they were created, one of the idea that has been brought forward is, over the place of Egypt, they used to have a major branch of Nile River which has got extent. Please remember, Nile River originates from Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria shares border with Tanzania and Uganda and your Kenya. It initially flows in the form of White Nile River, and then it joins with another tributary which is the Blue Nile River in Sudan. And finally, the gigantic Nile River flows through Egypt and drains into the Mediterranean Sea. So reading about Nile River and African river is very important. Please remember, it doesn't drain into Atlantic Ocean or Indian Ocean, rather it drains into the Mediterranean one. Okay, so this is about the Nile River, and somewhere here we see Egypt. So Egypt is where Egypt hosts the largest number of pyramids. The Pyramid of Giza is also in Egypt only, and one of the reasons how it was made is because probably it was adjacent to an extant branch of Nile River, which could have been instrumental in carrying and moving heavy materials around. So all of the stones and the people, all of them could have been taken care of by this extant river, and that is why this pyramid must have been created. Please remember, it's not just Egypt where you will find the pyramids, but it is in many parts of the world. In fact, most of them are in the Americas. But the most tallest prominent ones are in Egypt and Sudan. Okay. Now, if you're more curious about reading on pyramids, then we are putting this infographic for you in the handouts, which is available in the description box of this video, so you can have a look. Next is a very important topic, FPI, because recently, because of the poll uncertainties, majority of the FPIs have moved away from India, have taken their money and went away from India. And this has caused huge fluctuation in the stock market. So let's first understand what is foreign portfolio investment. So please remember, before 2000s, in fact, till the early 2000s, there were a lot of investment channels for the foreign investors, lot of investment channels. It could be in the form of QSI, it could be in the form of FII, it could be in the form of substandard foreign investments, etc. So then the SEBI 2012 appointed the Chandrasekhar Committee. So Chandrasekhar Committee gave the recommendation that we need to unify all these foreign investment route into one. So from 2014 onwards, we start the FPI regime. So FPI is a kind of foreign portfolio investment which includes all the different types of investment routes. For example, in foreign institutional investments, the QFIs, etc. So all of them comes under one bracket of FPI, and FPI is majorly responsible for investing in the profit-oriented security market of the country. It invests both in the capital market and in the primary market. Okay, so that's no bar for them. Of course, we can classify them, we can have a distinguishment between FPI and FDI. FDI is for creation of the assets, but FPI is basically not for the control or the creation of the asset, but for having some shares in that asset. So this is about FPI. It becomes more easy for the FPI to just fly off, and therefore these are also known as the fly off investments. So you can have a look into this table. Next is the lion-tailed macaw, a very important species. Why? Because this is endemic to India, only native to India. A very extreme statement. If it appears in the prelims, it will be correct in the case of lion-tailed macaw. Now, lion-tailed macaw are basically also known as old world monkeys or the bearded monkeys. They have got a grey face and they are diurnal in nature. What do you mean by diurnal animal? Diurnal, who's active in the daytime. So this is not nocturnal. This question was asked in 2023 prelims. Whereas the distribution range only limited to 3 states, specifically in Western Ghat area, which is Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, especially in Silent Valley National Park and Periyar National Park. Okay, and they are omnivorous. So please remember, they are omnivorous, because whether squirrels were omnivorous or not, that was asked in prelims 2023. That's why I'm telling this to you. The lifespan is of 20 to 14 years. And one of the more important fact is that they are endangered according to the IUCN. So they are endangered in their status, therefore heavily important for us. Right, so this was all about the discussion. We have covered about 9 topics for you, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this has added something to your preparation. And since prelims is coming up, you can reach out to us, you can approach to us in the Vajiram building, the 7B building, 4th floor, and we will help you at our best. So thank you so much and have a nice day.